Two balls and a strike to count on Taylor. Reyes fires, swing and a drive, deep left field. It's his way back. Walk him off. Chris Taylor.
Hi, everybody. Welcome into DodgerHeads presented by DodgerBlue.com. My name is Matthew Moreno. I'm filling in for Jeff, and I'm joined by Blake Williams, and we're here to talk Tony Gonsolin. Obviously, he was kind of the only remaining arbitration eligible player that the Dodgers didn't sign to any sort of deal before the deadline last month to kind of exchange salary figures. That then changed as they announced that they signed Gonsolin to a 2-year, $6.65 million contract extension. So not only getting a deal in place for this season, but now Gonsolin is under contract through next year as well. Blake, just was this kind of the predictable outcome or expected outcome, if you will, considering Andrew Friedman's history with arbitration?
Yeah, I think they're always going to get a deal done before going through that whole process. No one wants to go through that process from the team or the player. I was a little surprised it was a 2-year deal, especially with the number reported. He was supposed to get 3.5 million this year, and he got 3.25 million this year and 3.4 million next year, it was reported. So I think next year that contract is going to look like a steal where he would be projected for an even bigger raise. So to have that number below what he was supposed to get this year is pretty impressive from the team's perspective. But I think Gonsolin could have done a little better.
Yeah, you bring up a great point in terms of, this looking like it could potentially be a team-friendly deal. Obviously, 2021, Gonsolin was an all-star. He had a remarkable first half, experienced some aggression in the second half. That was sort of to be expected, dealt with the injury, but by all accounts, he's, should be healthy by the start of this season. So kind of looking ahead, and it should be noted that there are reported incentives in Gonsolin's 2-year contract that can maybe raise the total value once it's all said and done. But like you just said, how I guess beneficial or the Dodgers really got a team friendly deal a second year with him, especially when you look at after the 2023 season with Julio Urias on track to be a free agent, Clayton Kershaw, obviously only signing his 1-year contract, he would be a free agent. So you're looking at a team that could have a significant need for starting pitching. And so to have Gonsolin sort of locked in, even if maybe it's not at quite the dominant level we saw, it should still be a big benefit for them.
Yeah, definitely. Like 3.4 million next year, even if he isn't dominant, that's still a great value for a middle of the rotation guy. Like if he was on the free agent market, he'd probably be looking at 15 million a year, somewhere around there. So 3 million, even though it's in arbitration, he still would have got more if he didn't sign a 2-year deal. So it's definitely beneficial to a team that's probably going to be looking for starting pitching next year.
Yeah, and I think another thing that's of another positive development for the Dodgers and Gonsolin is that, and you kind of mentioned it earlier, you avoid an arbitration hearing, and those started this week, and they're going to be running through the middle of the month, right around when players are reporting for the start of spring training and stuff. The Dodgers, under Andrew Friedman, they've had 2 arbitration hearings, and both of them came in 2020, and that was when they won against Jock Peterson but lost to Pedro Baez. Give fans as much kind of your perspective of arbitration and how awkward of a scenario that can be.
Yeah, well, basically it's just the team trying to rip apart the player and the player saying he's not actually that bad. So it just brings confidence down and kind of leaves a messy relationship there. So if you can avoid it, it's definitely something you want to do. And they're usually able to avoid it, and it's beneficial for them and the players.
Yeah, definitely. And, another thing, like I alluded to earlier, this is sort of, I think, at least for me, kind of the expected outcome once the Dodgers and Gonsolin didn't agree to a deal at the exchange date. And Gonsolin ended up filing for a $3.4 million salary this season. The Dodgers had countered at $3 million. Although, like I mentioned earlier, Andrew Friedman typically is a file and trial, which means, he will go to arbitration. Exceptions have been made if it comes to signing a multi-year contract. And now, Gonsolin joins Max Muncy, Chris Taylor, Austin Barnes, and Walker Buehler in sort of heading down that path where they didn't have an agreement initially in place at the deadline. They ended up working out a contract after the fact. So all's well that ends well at this point. I know fans were upset, especially once the salary figures came out and there was basically a $400,000 difference. This is the Los Angeles Dodgers we're talking about, but like we've discussed on several of these videos, they did appear intent on trying to stay below the luxury tax threshold for this season. It doesn't look like that's going to happen. And frankly, Gonsolin's case didn't have much of an impact. That's all we have. Again, my name is Matthew. That was Blake. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you guys next time.